Welcome to Let's Chat with Derick. Pleased to introduce today's guest on the show. I think I have known him for, oh my God, I'm going to age us here, probably about 40 years now. And we'll share the story of how we met a little bit later on in the show, but he's one of the best songwriters that's ever come out of this country. If you love Canadiana music and Southern rock, you all know the Cooper Brothers. I'm joined by Dick Cooper of the Cooper Brothers. Dick, how are you?
Good. How are you, Derick? Has it really been that long?
It has. It has. I'm thinking back to those days where my mom worked at the Pinecrest Tennis Club, right, on Queensview Drive.
Yeah.
And she worked at the front desk and worked at the bar. And I used to come by after school every single day, Monday to Friday, to visit my mom and watch tennis. And who was there in the club all the time playing tennis? It was you. And I remember my mom's boyfriend, Ron, he introduced me to you. And then I found out you were a rock star. Well, then I was just, I became a super fan right away, right? As any young man would.
Wow.
We got lots of stories to share, Dick. I mean, you've had an incredible career and a lot of different career changes over the years. But I just wanted to talk, first of all, about, this pandemic. Everybody's going through a roller coaster of emotions. How has it impacted you personally?
It's impacted me quite a bit. First of all, I was teaching when this hit. So I teach songwriting and performance at the college. And I had just like a great bunch of kids this year. It was like kind of like one of the best classes I ever had. They were really engaged, and I was making great strides. And so when this hit, we had to go online, right?
Right.
So that's not exactly the same thing as I'm in the class. I'm here, give me the guitar, you just sing, I'll play, or I'm watching the kids perform. And then at the end of the year, we do a big thing at one of the clubs. And so we couldn't do any of that. So we kind of limped across the finish line,
Right.
And we got them through it, but it certainly wasn't the same.
I don't know if you're like me, but, technology of any kind, I don't get along with it very well at the best of times. And then you're sort of forced to, start using it. And, I was missing, my job of interviewing people. So I jumped on this. It took me a week to finally figure out how to use Zoom. That's embarrassing in itself. And I just, for you, that interaction with the students in class, I mean, it's so important. And all of a sudden have to, completely pivot and go online. I mean, it must have been difficult in many ways.
It wasn't so tough for songwriting, but performance, you're there in the room with the kid, and you're giving him some feedback. And a lot of times I would bring in special guests, I mean,
Right.
I brought in Jeff Rogers, and I would bring in J.W. Jones, or I would bring in all the different people around town, and they would play for the kids and talk to the kids about their career and stuff like that. And so I couldn't do any of that, and that was all towards the end of the year too. So I had to cancel all of that. So that really sucked, because those are great classes.
You haven't been able to see your hairdresser either,
No, I don't know. I don't want anything to do with this. I'm really.
I like it. It suits you. You're a rock star. Come on now. You're a rock and roll legend. This is what you're supposed to look like.
I kind of look like Howard Hughes, only without the money. I'm just
Right.
weirder every minute.
And through this, we were talking off camera. You started writing this song, right? The Stay at Home song. Tell me how that came about.
Okay, well, let me back up a little bit. So,
Sure.
Just before, a couple of things happened just before the COVID thing, and one of them was, have you heard of this local band Hirojo?
Yeah, of course, with Jeff Rogers, right?
J.W. Jones.
J.W. Jones, yeah.
Jamie Holmes. So they formed, and they went down and they entered this blues challenge, this international blues challenge, and I wrote with them. And some of the songs they were doing in the thing, I had co-written with the band, and so they win the whole thing,
right?
And it's like they win the international blues challenge, and they get all these great gigs in Vegas and in Chicago and everything, and then this hits and everything is canceled. So, I mean, we had talked about doing an album. we had talked about writing some more songs, and you know, their career is more or less on hold now, you know.
Yeah.
And they had all this heat going on because they won this huge event with bands from 200 and some bands from all over the world, and they win the whole thing. And so then the next thing that happened is I wound up, Jeff and I, Jeff plays in the Cooper Brothers for 10 years, and we've been pals, and we've always talked about doing a solo project for him. And so Jeff and I spent the last year and a half writing songs, and we went down to Muscle Shoals.
Oh, really?
Alabama.
To record?
Yeah.
Nice.
And we did that in February. Oh, this is a great story. You love this kind of stuff.
Okay.
So this is how I wound up in Muscle Shoals. So I go on Facebook one day, and you know who Ed King is?
Yeah.
Ed King wrote Sweet Home Alabama, and he was one of the guys in Leonard Skinner. So anyways, we were friends. I had met him years ago in Nashville and stuff. And so we would talk on, he always wanted to talk about gear, and I don't know anything about gear. So I would always pretend that I knew stuff about guitars. We would have these talks because he had the same kind of guitar as me and all that.
You're a good bullshitter is what you're saying.
Oh, I had to, yeah. I go, yeah, my guitar is shiny. So one day I go on Facebook, and they're having this political argument, and somehow my name gets thrown into it, and I go to Ed, I go, I don't know where this is coming from. I don't get involved in politics. And he goes, oh, that's right, there's two of you. And I go, what do you mean there's two of you? He goes, well, there's two Dick Coopers. He says, I tagged the wrong guy. So I go, okay, I want to stay out of this stuff. Leave me alone. Joking around with them. So then the next day I get a friend request from Dick Cooper, right? So it turns out this guy is like, he's got this incredible history. He worked at Fame Studios. He worked at Muscle Shoals Sound. He was a journalist, and he hung out with Dylan and all those. Whenever they came to Muscle Shoals, he would be like, go and pick them up at the airport in Nashville. And he had a million stories. And he says, you got to come down to Muscle Shoals. He says, and I'll give you the tour. So last year I went down, and it was unbelievable. He's like the mayor of Muscle Shoals. He's like,
really?
Like, he would introduce me to all these people, and he goes, this is my buddy Dick Cooper. And they go, oh my God, there's not two of you now. Oh, geez, you know? So we
and to really be in the same industry too.
That's amazing. That's so weird. And so I went around to all the studios. He introduced me to everybody. He introduced me to the Swampers and David Hood and all the guys you see in the documentary and everything. I got to meet them. And so I thought about recording there, but it wasn't really appropriate for the Cooper Brothers, because we have a band, right? I mean,
right.
So like going to record in Muscle Shoals with a band is kind of ridiculous, because they've got all these incredible musicians there. So it was a perfect setup to do something for a solo project. And so I talked to Jeff about it, and we got it together. And then this February, that was last February, this February, we went down to record. And so it was Jeff and I wrote all the songs together, and Jeff and I were producing along with Steve Foley from Ottawa, who runs Audio Valley.
Yeah.
And so we went down in February, and oh my God, it was just amazing, man.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the guys we had playing on the record, we had Kelvin Hawley, who played with like Little Richard for 25 years. He played with Greg Allman. And we had Clayton Ivey, who played with like B.B. King and the Supremes. And we had Shauna Tucker, who was with Drive By Truckers. And so we finished this album. We come home. The shit hits the fan. Yeah. So to this date, we haven't been back in. We were just thinking about now. We're just thinking about now getting in, because we had done.
So you hadn't finished recording the whole album.
All the vocals were done. Most of the instrumental were done, but we hadn't put horns on it. We hadn't done background vocals. We want choir in this one kind of gospel song that Jeff did. And so it's been so frustrating. I can't tell you. It's like been sitting here and just waiting, because we don't want to have a bunch of guys in the studio and endanger anyone. You know what I mean? It's silly. It's so we've been really, really cautious, and it's just now at the point where we're saying, hey, maybe we could get like one guy in to do like a sax guy in or something. And
Right.
so we've been out a couple of times to the studio, social distancing and all that crap, just listening to the stuff, and it sounds amazing. It really is.
You
One
know,
of the
I'm a
best
huge,
things.
I'm a huge fan of Jeff Rogers. I mean, he played at my wedding reception.
Yeah,
You know,
I hear you. I hear you
guy's
stiffed
incredible.
them. Is that true?
Of course not. What are you talking about? That tip jar was full. No, he's not only a great artist, but one of my favorite people. Just a super guy that is. You've said it to me so many times, Dick. Like just so incredibly talented. And there's so much talent in this city. People have no idea.
Oh, you should have heard them down there. They're like, Cooper, where'd you get this guy?
Yeah.
Like, what the hell? You know, like I go, yeah, I'll be down with other people too. You know, it's such like the vibe down there recording is like Cooper Brothers have recorded in Miami and New York and LA and everything, and Nashville, but like Muscle Shoals is it's you feel it. It's like you're in these studios where all these legends have recorded.
Yeah.
And you tell me there's not a vibe there. There's something in the air, you know. There's something in the water.
No kidding. Yeah, I can't even imagine, especially for two guys like, yourself and Jeff to go down and know that all of that history is sitting in that recording studio where you're putting together an album. I mean, I can't even imagine what that feeling would be like.
And a bunch of the session guys play on the Thursday night, and we went to the club to just hang, and Jeff got up and played a couple of songs, and the people like flipped out.
Wow.
So, like I don't think people realize how good some of the people in this town are, you know.
Yeah.
Here's Jeff and Muscle Shoals Alabama up on stage with just all unbelievable musicians, and they're all like, whoa, this guy's amazing. So yeah, I can't say enough about Jeff's talent. I think this album is really the best thing he's ever done, and
really, eh?
I just can't wait till it comes out.
Yeah.
Oh, it's good. It's really good.
Because I know he's collaborated with, so many different, I mean, he's been involved in so many different bands over the years. It's just been amazing. And, no surprise that J.W. Jones and Jeff get together to put a band together. I mean, two guys that I've both seen live, and they're both incredibly talented.
Yeah, that was a real good union. Hirojo sounded great. I feel bad that they kind of like, they lost all that momentum coming out of Memphis, because I mean, everybody was talking about them, and they were getting some really serious gigs,
It reminds me of Monkey Junk, right? How they came together, right? All that talent all of a sudden comes together. I think, they basically, the same thing happened with them, right?
Yeah.
They've been winning, blues awards for, how many years have they've been together now? A decade?
Yeah, they've been together around 10 years.
Yeah.
They're great local guys too, man. Just
so
guys.
That's a good setup, because fast forward, then you write this song about basically living through a pandemic, and it's got, over 100,000 views now.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's amazing.
I'm sitting in front of my car, sitting in front of the house with the car, and I got my phone, and I'm recording it into my phone, and I came in and changed a few words and just did it on my phone and threw it up on our Facebook page just for fun, and it must have struck a nerve. 100,000 or so views later,
amazing.
Going, oh, because I think it's a little bit optimistic, about. Very unlike me. It's
That's not true. That's not true. You may be the most sarcastic person I've ever met, but you're a positive person.
Yeah, sometimes.
I want to take a little, we talked about what's happening now, but I thought this was a great opportunity to take a walk down memory lane. And as I said off the top, like when I found out you were in a rock band, I remember actually my mom's boyfriend, Ron, you had given him a cassette tape of a bunch of music you had been working on. And my favorite song on that was Icy Blue Eyes.
Oh, wow.
Right? I played that one cassette over and over again for probably 10 years to every single friend I met. And I said, I know the Cooper Brothers. I was so proud. I was like, I know these guys. You're going to love this music. It's great.
One of our roadies keeps telling us to do Icy Blue Eyes. And I keep saying no, so you and him should get together.
Listen, it's a great song. That album in itself, and I don't think you ever put it out, did you?
No, that's a whole other story.
Oh, that's it.
It's
Okay,
rock and roll stuff. That's
now
rock and
that's it.
roll stuff.
That's intriguing.
Well, we did 2 albums with Capricorn, and that's, that was the big Southern rock label, and that's kind of how come we got branded as Southern rock.
I have them. I have both of those albums on vinyl, signed by the band.
Oh, all right, you're one of the few, man. I don't have that.
Really?
I don't do vinyl yet.
No.
got
I
rid of
think
it
I have.
all, and,
I even have doubles. I have about 5 Cooper Brothers albums. Monica and I have a great album collection. We kept all our vinyl, the two of us, from when we were kids all the way up to adulthood, and we have our entire collection up at the cottage. We just
oh
love
wow,
flipping through. Yeah.
yeah, I guess.
So you did
Yeah,
those
well,
2 with Capricorn.
so we did those 2 at Capricorn, and then, I mean, it was kind of tragic what happened in a way. I mean, everyone has their tragic rock and roll stories, every band. But I mean,
Yeah.
we had, the first album was fairly successful, and we had a couple that were like top 40 in the States. The second album came out. The first single off of it came out. And it started at 79 or something on Billboard. The next week it was like, I don't know, 60 or something like that. And Capricorn went belly up.
Oh,
I mean,
man.
it was a Monday when they went belly up, and we were supposed to leave on Thursday to tape Midnight Special.
Wow.
My brother reminded me of that one day, and I went, oh, gee, I blocked that from my memory. It was, so thanks for bringing that up. Yeah.
So
that was,
because they went bankrupt, that affected your opportunity then.
oh my God, yeah. Because I mean, it's like what I just said about Hirojo. You get some momentum, and it's tragic when that changes. Because we were probably, if that album had done well, I think we might have been on our way, But it was like it did okay here, but then what happens is that whenever these labels go under, there's all this legal crap, right? And
Yeah.
so for a couple of years, we couldn't really sign with anybody else. Nobody wanted to touch it because there's all these publishing contracts, and there's these recording contracts that are distribution things that are hanging around. So it really set us back. It was really kind of our undoing. We wound up putting out a third album with a smaller label, and then the fourth album, which is what you're referring to, Icy Blue Eyes, it was never released because the producer of the album, who shall remain nameless, skipped town, and the bank seized the masters.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But
Does
you know
bad
what?
luck just follow you around, Dick?
Yeah, let me tell you about my book publishing career. No, so
we'll get to your book, by the way, because it is one of the funniest laugh out loud books I've ever read in my entire life. But anyway, we'll get to that in a bit.
Yeah. So anyways, we couldn't release it, but on our best of, we put Icy Blue Eyes and 2 other songs, because I just thought, just sue me. I don't care.
Right.
You're not going to sue me for doing that. So I just said the hell with it. And we put a couple of those songs, including Icy Blue Eyes, on our best of compilation, which came out in like 2006.
Yeah, I have a copy of it on CD.
Yeah, nothing's in my name. Go ahead and sue me. I'll give you a couple of tennis rackets, a guitar. Go and sue me. Whatever stupid bank has those masters.
I'm glad you brought up tennis, because as I said, that's how I met you. And what's interesting is you guys go on the road, and I mean, you shared the stage with some of the biggest acts in the world at that time. But I remember you telling me the story of how you wanted to sort of keep busy on the road because, being in a rock band, it can take you down different paths, and sometimes those paths
develop some bad habits.
Let's put it that way. Yeah, they can be dangerous habits.
Yeah.
And you wanted to do something to sort of keep yourself busy, and you're like, we can't play golf because we don't have room, to bring a bunch of golf club bags with us on the road. And you decided to bring tennis rackets.
I remember it like it was yesterday, and I
It's
forget
amazing.
so much about that time. We were in like some horrible place like Thunder Bay, or Dryden, or some place you drive through, not to. And
Apologies to those in Thunder Bay.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I feel bad for you. I was there for a year 1 week. Yeah. So we go down to Canadian Tire, and we're having this discussion in the Canadian Tire. Like, yeah, we got to do something. And we had ball gloves, so we would maybe play a little ball or something. And then literally Terry King just goes, hey man, tennis. And he walks over with a tennis racket, and he goes, we could put them in our luggage, we could play tennis. And so you can imagine this bunch of guys there with hair down to here, and
No kidding.
cut off shorts and everything. Like, look like a bunch of gypsies or something, smashing the ball around. We eventually really fell in love with the game, and we wound up taking lessons. And not my brother's still in golf, but Terry King and I, the late great, we played tennis for years together on the road.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're a great tennis player. I remember watching you. I remember you even telling me you played tennis with Alfie.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, him being an incredible athlete kicked your ass, but still, you held your own.
I like playing with them, and then I just have to cover a very small part of the court. Yeah, you take over there. I'm good over here. Yeah.
Dick, you mentioned the late great Terry King, who I had the good fortune of meeting. I remember being down in his basement, and he had his home studio, and I was just in awe that, oh my God, you have a home studio. This is amazing. But I don't know if you can share at least one of his incredible stories, because Terry was a one-of-a-kind human being, and you guys, I mean, he did some crazy stuff on the road.
I mean, yeah. I mean, a lot of it's not fit to print, but one of the funniest things that I remember about Terry was he got bored pretty easily, right? So
Right.
that was so when he got bored, usually stuff happened. And one thing he used to do back then, you could do like third-party billing on the phones.
Okay.
And after we would finish a gig and we'd be in a hotel room or something, Terry'd say, I think I'm going to play phone. And what that meant was that he would try to, for a while, he would try to get a hold of Idi Amin, or he would try to get a hold of Thatcher, or he would try to get a hold of like Castro. And so he would get on the phone and he would make these long distance calls, and he would charge them to other, so you could do third party billing. So
Right.
he would charge them to like the Canadian Bible Association or the NDP, or like particular targets that he had. And he would get on the phone with these guys, and it would be like performance art. And like I remember he got through, he was trying to get through to Thatcher, and he somehow, through all these different things in England, he got a hold of like the British, the Minister of Fitness and Sport. And he doesn't even miss a beat. And he goes, okay, well, I'm trying to set up a softball game. What's softball? Like, we're with a band. We play softball. And oh my God. And like, there would be alcohol involved, obviously. And
Right.
he was trying to get Idi Amin to manage the band, because he felt that he had the right attitude and he had an army. And so this went on for years. And then eventually, so Les Emerson was in LA, and he phones us one day. He says, hey man, I don't know what Terry's doing up there, but like the SaskTel police are after him. So we didn't know there was like police for the phone, and they were trying to track Terry down.
Oh
And
my
then
God.
tell. And so eventually he had to kind of curtail his because they were tracking him down.
Amazing. Just amazing.
Yeah,
So
he was one of a kind. He really was
yeah,
an unbelievable sense of humor. Unbelievable talented guy too. Like he doesn't get enough credit really for any of our success, because this guy sang the low part on records and the high part on records. He had a 4-octave range, and he played pedal steel, and he was as much of a brother as my brother was to me. I mean, it was a sad day when he left us, you know.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Much too young. And as you said, hearing him sing, that being able to have that kind of talent in your voice, I mean, that's rare, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, you're in the business. It's really hard to find someone that can have that kind of, sing the lowest and the
Yeah.
highest notes for a band. It's unbelievable.
You know, it's funny. Sometimes some of the gigs, if they're bigger gigs, we'll have a couple of girls sing with us, and they go, "A guy sang this part?" Yeah. Holy jeez.
So you guys obviously, pretty much forced to disband, right? That I guess, some of you also started families and so forth. So,
Yeah.
You just sort of went in different directions, and you've had some, really unique careers, in your own right. I mean, you were creating video games, and you wrote for television. I mean, it just goes on and on. You're an author, you're a teacher. You've done a lot of different things. I guess creativity is just in your blood.
Yeah. I always wanted to do something that was creative. That's all. And when the music kind of dried up, and we've been on the road for a while, and it's not as glamorous as you think,
Yeah.
So I had been doing it for 15 years, and so it was, it got a little old. And then I had opportunities to do other things. I wound up writing for TV, like you say. The video game thing was almost 10 years, and the video game thing was fun because they had money. There was money in the video game business, and so you got a chance to do stuff right. And you got to, if they wanted a certain actor, you went to LA, or you went to London, or went to New York. And like I did a lot of voice record stuff and a lot of green screen stuff, and it was just fun, But I mean, ultimately, music is the blessing and the curse, Like, I mean, if it's
Right.
in your blood, it's in your blood. And when I got a chance to get back into music, I kind of jumped in it. And I kind of feel like I'm the last guy on the Titanic in some ways, because I got back into it in like 2007 or 2008, and it was just totally tanking, But having said that, in the last 10 years, we've done 3 albums, and we recorded in Nashville with Colin Linden, and
I remember your big reunion concert.
Yeah.
I remember going to it. It was just, it was amazing. And wasn't that sort of what prompted the return of the Cooper Brothers?
Yeah, that whole, are you talking about the Prescott
Yeah.
Hotel thing?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that was bizarre. I mean, we sent invitations out to, like, I don't know, 75 people or something, and we get there at 4:30 in the afternoon to do our sound check, and the Prescott is full, and there's a lineup down the street.
Oh yeah, you couldn't get in.
And you couldn't get in, and we're going, what the hell's going on here? And so we were going to play at 9:00 at night. The place is already packed, and we had learned 4 songs. We were no band. We were going to learn 4 songs for that night, show everybody the new album, and everything.
Right.
So we got on the phone and just called every musician in town. The 4 songs aren't going to last all night. These people are going to be pissed, So what it showed us was that we still had a few fans and people, and it really just coincided with me leaving the video game business, and so the stars kind of aligned, and we wound up getting back into it, which I don't regret. I mean, my brother and I still do other things, but I mean, I guess the way I look at it is this: like, the first time around, we didn't end the career. It just a series of things happened, right?
Right.
And so, regrettably, and
yeah, didn't end it on your own terms, which
no, not on our
is
own
never
terms
fun.
at all. That's exactly it. So getting back, and like, we've done 3 albums, we might do 1 more, but whatever, that's up to us. We're going to decide, not not fate. We're just going
Yeah.
to decide ourselves.
But that's a challenge in itself, right? I don't think, and I'm not going to pretend to know anything about it, but I don't think the average person has any understanding of what it takes to put an album together. And I'm even not even talking about the songwriting part of it. I'm talking about, the actual time and amount of money it takes to invest into putting an album together. I don't think we really understand it, those of us that aren't in the industry.
Yeah, financially it's tough now.
Yeah.
It's tough to make your money back. It's tough to even break even. And luckily we have a few like patron saints that still dig what we do and have helped us out. And then, my brother and I, we, most of the money we made out, we've put back into the band and stuff like that. But you're absolutely right. People have no idea. Like the thing with Jeff, Jeff and I wrote songs for 2 years.
Yeah.
Until we came up with the 9 or 10 songs that we thought were perfect for him, right? And I kept saying, what do you think of this? No, I go, oh, geez. Like it had to be, we said we wanted to do this and we wanted to love every song we did, right? So to do that, it took us 2 years to write the songs. Then we would go down there, we have to arrange all that, the financing and everything. And then we have to, now we have to finish it. We have to mix it. We have to master it and all that stuff. And there's no guarantees you're going to, there's no guarantees he's going to get a record deal. He might have to do it independently. Like, we don't know.
Oh yeah. Listen, as far as I know, like, Jeff was probably doing 8 gigs a week, right? Before COVID hit. That's how if you're not, it's the entertainment industry, it's, rich or poor. So you're either doing some kind of mega album and everybody knows who you are, or you're writing songs, but you're going out there and you're performing every night to make a living on it, right?
It's a joke that someone with Jeff Rogers' talent is playing weddings and shit.
Yeah. Whoa, wait a minute. He played my wedding. What are you?
Not your wedding.
I'm just kidding. Well,
you know what I'm saying.
For sure.
This guy's got that much talent.
Dick, you mentioned, back in 2008, 2009, and I agree with you. I thought the music industry was, and apologies to people who love the music from that time, but I really thought it was going downhill. I kind of feel like there's been an uptick in the last sort of 3-4 years where you're seeing artists now that are actually writing meaningful lyrics and, some great voices out there now. Do you feel the same way? Like, how do you see the music industry today?
Yeah, you have to look, but it's out there. I'm lucky that I teach, because the kids are constantly, they're, hey, Cooper, listen to this, listen to this, listen to this,
Right.
And a lot of it I don't like, but a lot of it I like. I know way more about rap and hip hop than I ever really wanted to know, as this old white guy. But having said that, there's some really good rap artists out there that I know it sounds nuts, but personally, guys like Jason Isbell and Tedeschi Trucks and all these kind of groups are out there. You just kind of have to find them. You have to get through the BS and find them. They might not pop up on the Billboard, top 20.
Yeah.
But
I would even say the sort of that top 40, there is a mix now of some pretty good stuff. Like I actually
guys like Hosier and stuff like that.
And,
yeah. There's some stuff for sure. Yeah. But I really think you have to look for it, because it's just not obvious. There's just, you got to kind of do your work, you got to do your research, but there's some great stuff out there, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you've got this album with Jeff. Obviously, you guys are going to have to go back and put that together. As far as the Cooper Brothers go, where are you guys at? Are you writing new stuff? Are you looking at putting out another album? I'm
writing like crazy during this COVID thing. I don't know what it is, man. It's just maybe boredom.
Maybe time on your hands. Yeah.
I got all those guitars back there. It's like I come down here every day. Yeah, do something. Write some songs.
Your basement's like a museum. I've been there. It's like a museum of guitars and just great old photos, and It's an amazing. That's what you should do one day. Is you should do like a Zoom tour of your basement.
Yeah, and invite people to come and steal my shit. Yeah, no, I'm not doing that. No.
I didn't say give out your address at the same time.
I also do a lot of work with JW. So
Yeah.
so I'm going to be working with him. I did like co-wrote 5 songs on his last record, and we're going to be doing a whole bunch of stuff on his new record next year. So I'm going to be doing that. But yeah, I mean, I might come out of this COVID thing with a whole bunch of new songs for the Cooper Brothers. We'll see. But you know, like I say, financially it has to make sense. You know, you don't want to.
Yeah.
You don't want to make a record and you know, you want people to hear it, and you want to be able to promote it and all that stuff too. And you know, I still think we have an audience. I mean,
yeah,
you know,
I think so too. I agree 100%.
people still dig the band.
Yeah. You're also an author. I just wanted to bring that up because, as I said near the top, is you know, the book you wrote, Jukebox, is one of my favorite books, and I'm not saying that just because we're friends, because I could just, you know, not talk about it at all, quite frankly, because we have so many different paths to go down, and you have such an incredible history. But honestly, one of the funniest books I have ever read, and you know, I'm imagining the inspiration was, you know, the Dick Cooper and the Cooper brothers from back in the day. I know it's a fictional account, of course, but that's where the book was. I guess the inspiration for the book came from.
Yeah, I mean, it was so much different then. Just we were there pre-video, right? So you did an album or you did a single, whatever. You got out on the road and you were out there for a week on end, and you were pounding the pavement. You know, you were trying to sell records. You know, and it was difficult, and it was kind of crazy, man.
Yeah.
And I'd never seen an account that I felt was really truthful. You know, they tend to glamorize everything when you're writing about rock and about rock stars. Well, we never made it to the top. We were somewhere around the middle there, and it was you got a whole different view of the business from there, and that's what I was trying to convey. And also, I was with some pretty unique characters on the road.
Yeah,
but they had a pretty interesting idea of what was fun. So all of these things kind of like went together. The other thing that about the book was this idea of, and it happens to athletes too, is this idea of lifted high and dropped hard. You know, this idea like you know, an athlete is he's a hero, and then he hangs up the skates, and then get in line with everybody else, dude. You know,
I was going to mention that perspective because it really is the main character. You know, the perspective is, you know, he had all these highs and it was exciting, and it doesn't matter if you're middle of the road. You know, when you get some momentum and you're touring, and you know, people, you got fans coming out and you're filling places, and then it ends. Right? And that's not easy.
And you have to just adapt to just normal life, like everyone else, right? And it shouldn't be that difficult, but I know it has been difficult for a lot of the guys I knew that were in music, and or in sports. And I was trying to talk about that, but not in a big, heavy-handed manner. I was trying to do it in a kind of a comic sense, you know. And I mean, that's kind of what the whole book is about. You know, it's about this guy dealing with life après, you know, after he had this shot, you know. So. Yeah, I appreciate it. You've always been kind. You always said nice things about the book. I appreciate that.
Oh, my pleasure. As I said, I have recommended it to so many people. I can't even count how many people I've recommended it to, because as I read it twice because it was just so funny, and the details and you know, for someone living in Ottawa, you know, there's a lot of things that, you know, you may recognize in the book. Let me just put it that way to viewers out there. I think it's definitely worth the read. Dick, can't thank you enough for spending time with me. This has been so much fun walking down memory lane with you. You know, I'm a huge fan of you as not just a musician, but as a person. You know, we've had some great talks and over beers, and shared some stories we can't share here on the show, but I really appreciate your friendship.
I do too, buddy. Thanks a lot, man. Thanks for having me.
All right, take care.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.